Und ein herzliches Willkommen zurück zu Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So. Ich wollte gerade sagen, bei mir geht gerade nichts mehr, aber okay. So, Nebenoperationen. Und zwar haben wir einen neuen Mother Base Soldaten. Das ist Nummer 8. In Luvwa Valley.
Please select a landing zone.
Und ja, genau, ich werde mal hier landen.
Central Africa.
Aber natürlich nicht mit dem Schleichanzug, sondern denke mal, Wald ist ganz gut. Das war ja Afrika. Und wir starten
Deploying.
bei Tag. Geht im Übrigen, glaube ich, bis Nummer 10 mit den Mother Base Soldaten. Dachte erst nur bis 9, aber es ist, glaube ich, bis 10. Hören wir mal. Auf jeden Fall bin ich dann gespannt, was das dann für Auswirkungen hat, die Story von Paz. Also die Ladezeiten sind gerade ziemlich lang. Ja, jetzt doch. Ich wollte gerade sagen, ich hoffe mal, dass sich das Spiel jetzt nicht irgendwie aufhängt. Ich hoffe mal nicht, dass es das vorhat. Würde ich nicht so toll finden. Ja, Dieter, du wirst uns jetzt behilflich sein. Den Guten hier zu finden. Okay, oh, ein Esel, ja. Mehrere Esel, ich hoffe mal, die sind nicht so aggressiv wie teilweise die Schafe hier. Das ist ja übel. Mach immer ein bisschen langsam. Achso, Moment. Moment. Ich könnte ja mal bei den Tapes gucken, ne?
Snake, about the escaped children. Eli confessed. The way he tells it, they wanted to go back to the battlefield. Don't rob them of their freedom, he said. If you bring them all back, there will be consequences. Next, he'll be asking for our surrender.
Consequences? What consequences?
No idea. That's all I have for now.
You're too attached to those kids. Stop protecting Eli.
Listen to yourself.
Let me question him, and we'll get some real answers.
Not necessary. I'll report as and when.
Naja, da haben wir ihn schon gefunden. Guck ich doch mal, ob ich da irgendwie relativ safe rankomme. Ich wechsle schon mal das zum Scharfschützengewehr. Das Scharfschützengewehr, ja. Okay, von hier wird's Mist.
That's the target. I remember.
Ah, die Doc.
He was off base during the attack 9 years ago. Bring him home, boss.
Enemy present. Map is being updated.
Fuck. Nix Karton. Okay. Wo ist er? Weit kann er eigentlich nicht sein. Ah. Oh. Ah. Alter! Was ist denn das für Dreckskerl?
Enemy present detected. The
Kann doch
map
nicht
has
sein,
been
ey.
updated.
Das kann doch nicht sein, dass ich den nicht treffe, ey. Wow. Na? Okay, da war. Ach, der hat eine Tarnkappe, okay. Ach, Mann! Ja, Gott sei Dank. Okay, da war Judy. So, gibt's hier wenigstens noch was?
Side op completed.
He's coming too. Roger that.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
So, was haben wir denn? Was haben wir denn so? Was haben wir dann noch an Kassetten eigentlich? Hm.
Snake, I wanted to ask you about the man on fire. What do you remember from the hospital? Anything we can use?
Well,
Roger.
he took off the moment the sprinklers started up.
Sprinklers? The fire system?
And when he got sprayed with water from the burst pipe, it slowed him down.
When we escaped on horseback, he wouldn't cross the river either.
And then it started to rain. And he disappeared.
Water against fire. Is it that simple? I mean, it makes sense. It's just hard to believe it would work on a guy like that.
Ja, aber Wasser hat ihn zumindest kurzzeitig gestoppt. Und im Moment liegt der brennende Mann ja bei uns in der Mother Base, ne? Ich weiß auch nicht, ob das so eine gute Idee ist.
This is Pequod. Arriving shortly at LZ. This is Pequod. Have arrived at LZ. Will stand by.
Support helicopter has arrived.
Naja, gut. Na, ich nehme die Esel jetzt nicht mit, egal. Egal. So, auf zu Pass.
Gaining altitude.
Auf zu Pass.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Den Transport von Überwachungskameras haben wir auch erstmal ein bisschen eingedämmt. Nice. Das hat im Übrigen wirklich Auswirkungen, ne? Ihr habt es gesehen in der Mission, wo wir Skullface finden sollten. Wenn ihr da vorher ein paar Überwachungskameras, also die Transporte oder die Lager zerstört habt, dann sind in der Mission an den Gebäuden keine Überwachungskameras, ansonsten wären da welche gewesen. Bringt also wirklich was. Wenn man da den Nachschub ein bisschen abdreht.
Side ops list updated.
Eine neue Nebenoperation. Warum hängt sich das Menü so auf? Ist doch nicht schön hier. So. Ja. Fangen Sie den legendären Schakal. Ach, das ist dazu. Aha. Jede Menge Gefangenenrettungen haben wir. Ein Elitesoldaten. Naja, gut.
Please select a landing zone. Heading to Mother Base.
Machen wir alles noch. Also ich. Wahrscheinlich nicht mit euch zusammen. Also ich werde nicht jede Mission davon zeigen. Weil das werden dann, ich weiß nicht wie viel Parts. Ich will ja keine 100 Parts draus machen hier. Wir sind ja jetzt schon bei 54. Der 54. müsste das jetzt sein. Schon ordentlich. Ach, ich bin blöd. Ich hätte gleich auf der medizinischen Plattform landen können, ne? Das war jetzt Mist. Aber gut, dann fahren wir mit dem Auto und hören uns noch ein Tape an. Was haltet ihr davon?
Boss, welcome back.
Das wäre doch was.
Boss.
We finished decoding the informant's report. That floating kid we've run into a few times now. Looks like he was a test subject in clinical experiments. The Soviets called him the Third Boy. The Third Boy was brought to a lab on the outskirts of Moscow from Czechoslovakia, after which he was due to be sent to a research center in Leningrad, then Siberia, and finally an academic town in Novosibirsk. It doesn't appear that the researchers witnessed the talents we've seen from him, but nevertheless he was quite the popular subject. His latent cognitive abilities suddenly awoke en route to Moscow. According to the report, the Third Boy was easily influenced by other individuals' biofields. Evil thoughts, in particular. They affected his mind like a virus. Extreme anger or resentment, motives for revenge, in other words. Now, during the transport flight to Moscow, the boy was exposed to a powerful mental energy field coming from a certain individual. Ever since, being conscious of his powers, he's become a sort of energy generator. What's unique about him is the way his acute telepathic abilities get taken over by another person's will. The boy began to physically parasitize individuals experiencing extreme anger and codify the host's desires. This includes amplifying the host's natural strengths. Or, in accordance with the host's desires, he can also implant program code in another individual, making them a puppet, essentially. Human neural synapses transmit weak electrical currents between neurons. These electrical currents, though at a level difficult to observe, warp the magnetic field outside the body. The Third Boy is able to pick up these weak fluctuations. Contrary to psychotronics, which involves controlling the human mind, his abilities as a receptor are too high. The emotions he picks up from another individual are amplified and unleashed into his body as they recur in his brain. They turn into microwaves, which then affect the physical world, triggering paranormal phenomena like the spontaneous combustion of organic matter or psychokinesis, moving an object without touching it. There's one other thing. While he's parasitizing a host, the boy's ego gets shut away, allowing the will of the host to take control of his powers, like some annoying static drowning out your own voice. That means he isn't responsible for what's been happening. Somebody's extreme anger has manifested through the Third Boy's powers in ways none of us could have predicted, which would mean this was going on somewhere around us. Looking back on it, a lot of things make sense now. The man on fire, Sahelanthropus, they both came to life thanks to the Third Boy's powers. Everything has been happening through him as a catalyst. We first saw him in the hospital on Cyprus. The boy parasitizing the Man on Fire's desire for revenge gave him his new abilities in return. He next appeared at the Hamid Fighters Fort where the honeybee was hidden. There, the boy parasitized Skullface's vengeful mind. He controlled Sahelanthropus, making it do whatever Skullface wanted. Same goes for when we extracted Emmerich onto the chopper. When he appeared at the Devil's House in Central Africa, Skullface's will controlled the Man on Fire via the third boy's powers. Everything is clear up to this point. But even the informant couldn't pinpoint who the host was in the cave within Serac power plant. Sahelanthropus suddenly became active, then crushed not only the Man on Fire, but Skullface as well. Surely neither of them could have been the host. Who else was at that location and bore anger more extreme than either of them? Whose will was controlling Sahelanthropus? According to the report, emotions transmitted in children's brains affect the surrounding magnetic field more strongly. Cerebral nerves are covered with insulation called myelin sheaths to increase impulse speed. The reason for this leakage has to do with the fact that children's myelin sheaths are still developing. So, how many children do you remember being there? Children with a burning desire for revenge and bearing a grudge against you. I can think of only one. Eli. We don't know what kind of life he's had, but the resentment he's shown toward adults is nothing short of extraordinary. The third boy resonated with Eli's mind. And that means Eli bore the strongest animosity of all individuals within the boy's reception range, estimated to be a 3-mile radius, beating out even Volgin and Skullface. The third boy has probably remained hooked on Eli's anger since. You remember at the Devil's House, the third boy showed an interest in Shabani? That must have been his ego making a rare appearance. He may possess abilities far beyond anyone else in the world, but he's still a kid. Maybe them both being kids was enough to bring them together. And if so, maybe with Eli, he isn't feeding off him, but acting in symbiosis with him. So what kick-started the third boy's powers? If we look at the location and time that his plane went down, we can make a pretty good guess. When the plane experienced the first anomaly, it gave an accurate report of its position to a control tower, due north of the Black Sea, 125 miles east of Kiev. Dead south on the Black Sea is Cyprus's Green Line. So the plane's position was directly north of the hospital where you'd been asleep for 9 years. And this anomaly was reported at exactly the same time that you woke up. The plane was enveloped in flame from the inside out. The fuselage burnt to ashes. There were no survivors, at least not publicly admitted. Your thoughts formed a synchronicity with the boy's psyche and were amplified inside his brain. That would have been more than enough to trigger his abilities. Your rage was like a big bang in his head, blowing the lid off his powers. The boy was then secretly moved to the lab outside of Moscow where Volgin was comatose. There, Volgin's thoughts resonated with the boy and he was awakened. Volgin became the Man on Fire, hell-bent on getting revenge on you. His instincts led him straight to you. Skullface knew Volgin from Operation Snake Eater, or perhaps from even before. Monitoring this pair of extraordinaries, he discovered the hospital and sent his assassin and XOF. Skullface was probably watching the situation from close by. Then, realizing how useful these two test subjects could be, he approached them. Reacting to Skullface's thirst for revenge, this time the boy let Skullface's will control Volgin. Volgin, at times driven by personal revenge, at times through Skullface's will, kept on moving, though his body was little more than dead meat. Perhaps there were moments where even your thoughts affected him as well. But without the boy's power, it was like the plug had been pulled from the socket. Everything was powered by anger, malice, revenge. This is how the end of the report sums things up. Both the third boy and the Man on Fire were originally test subjects of paranormal research for military applications, like telekinetically controlling the leader of an enemy nation and making him launch a nuke. for stopping the heart of someone on the wrong side of the Berlin Wall, experimenting with latent human abilities. They were used as tools of the Cold War. The boy's only crime was being born with unique gifts. But he was sacrificed on the altar of war. His life reduced to slavery under other people's wills. Turned into a living weapon with no will of his own. Eventually, the only emotion he could feel must have been the desire to get revenge for the hand he'd been dealt. Boss, it's you that awakened the boy's powers. But there's more to it than that. I guess the anger emanating from you was something he could truly relate to.
Okay, das war ein ziemlich langes Tape. Aber gut, es war schon mal interessant zu erfahren, was es mit diesem Kind da auf sich hat, ne? Okay, ich habe gerade in den Entwicklungen gesehen, dass mir irgendwie wieder der Narkose-Spezialist fehlt, aber fragt mich mal nicht warum. Der vielleicht noch im Einsatz ist. Keine Ahnung.
Caution, rain approaching.
Ich kann den ja nicht schon wieder rausholen, ne? Wäre ja schon das dritte Mal.
Oh, Snake. What is it, Snake? The Costa Rican Sea. It is so beautiful. Costa Rica means rich coast. Please, please, get them out of my country. Them? Huh? Who was I thinking of? It was... And then I... No, that is not right. But I am an angel of peace. I am a student. My head, it hurts.
Okay. Ja, ich bin ja gespannt, wo das noch hinführt. Gut, Leute, ich würde aber sagen, an dieser Stelle werde ich beenden. Ich bedanke mich bei euch fürs Zusehen und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal. Bis dahin, tschüss.